tone. And I want to start by asking a question here, KD. When I asked you what you wanted to speak about, because I said, you need to be here, I want to talk about what you want to talk about. And you immediately said, I want to talk about tone and tonality. Why? What gets you so fired up about it? Why is this a topic of passion for you?
Well, because at the end of the day, especially remote, this is what drives everything. Like literally everything, every conversation, every email, because tone, by the way, can be in writing as well. No one's talking about this, right? We talk about what to say. We don't talk about how to say it. And we talk about what we said. We don't talk about how it was heard. And so the tone of what we say in our videos, in our emails, in our demos, in our voicemails, in our calls, it's actually everything, right? I could give you the perfect script. I could give everyone in here the perfect bulletproof script. But if you didn't deliver, and I don't feel like enough people are giving that enough attention.
Yeah, it's such an important point. And when I talk to a lot of folks about things like cold calling, it's one of the first things that the best cold callers talk about. But one of the things I never hear from those who say, oh, cold calling is dead, I don't want to do it anymore, is that how you say it is probably more important than what you say. And there's so much that comes in. So we're going to dive into cold calling, dive into video in a couple of minutes. And before we get into some of those really specific tactics, I want to ask you why now with this topic. So tonality has always been important in sales. It brings a lot of what we need to communicate. But is there any reason why now? Have things changed at all that make this even more important today?
You can't afford to miss anymore. You can't afford to miss. Right? When things are easy, when there's budgets, when there's money flowing, when things are coming inbound, really it's yours to mess up. Now you can't afford to miss. Connect rates are lower. So when I get somebody on, I have to nail it. Budgets are tighter. So when I'm in a demo, I have to nail it, right? It's when things get harder, the smaller details matter. And that's why I think this is more top of mind. And also too, truthfully, like as if we're in the nest right now, I'm seeing a lot of, LinkedIn fodder around like what to say, right? Like, should you say 27 seconds? Should you say how you been versus how you doing? And I'm sitting there going like, literally none of that matters. And why a lot of what's being taught on the what doesn't work is because no one's taught how to say it. And so some of these gimmicky things, someone can pull off because it's a gimmick and they can say it, but the normal person feels so weird talking that way that it doesn't come across in the right tone. So to me, we have less room for error right now, which is why this tone is so important.
Every second counts. I couldn't agree more. And this is something that's near and dear to my heart as well, because of course, those who know me know that I am very close to the world of video and video messaging, where I think in today's world as well, where we're digital first, but our modes of communication have changed clearly. Right? We're not just hiding behind the keyboard anymore. We're, on more video calls and we're in video messages more than ever. And so I think this is, just continues to be important in terms of how we represent ourselves across various mediums, which is exciting. So let me ask you, as we dive into this, we're going to focus a lot on cold calls and video messages, but we can dive into email and others as well. But maybe we start there. As you think about it in the prospecting world, let's start early on. And we think about, we're making calls, we're sending video messages, we're even writing emails. Can you start with the fundamentals of like what really should be the goals of those outreach? And then how does that get represented in the tones that we use?
Yeah. Okay. So I love actually how you phrase this question. The goal of cold outreach is to build curiosity. This is the goal of cold outreach. Can you build curiosity? It is not to build interest. It's to build curiosity. Inbound, someone already is curious enough to reach out. Outbound, we're trying to build curiosity, whether that's an email, whether that's a video, whether that is a phone call. I'm trying to build enough curiosity that you'll do whatever I'm looking for next. That's what I'm looking for. Can I build enough curiosity for you to do whatever it is I want you to do next? So maybe that's watching a video. Can I build enough curiosity in that email messaging to get you to watch the video? Maybe it's to book a meeting. Can I build enough curiosity that you'd want to learn more about what I'm talking about? I get you on the phone. All of it's around curiosity. That is the goal. And if we remember that, it'll change the tone that we use in our videos, in our calls, and in our emails.
I'm already like physically leaning in as you're communicating these ideas, because I mean, I'm sure this is just, implicit for you now. It's natural to, use the kinds of tones that you do. But, can you explain that a little bit further when you think about it on a call, in a video, when you're trying to create curiosity, trying to pique that curiosity to take that next step? What role does tone actually play, and how do we, what's a tone that doesn't tend to work that we tend to see a lot of sellers leaning into?
Okay. This is going to rattle some people. You know what doesn't build curiosity? Using a confident and energetic tone. Hey, Tyler, KD over at Vidyard. It's just actually on your website, and boy, do I have something for you right now. Do you got 27 seconds so I can tell you why I'm calling?
Sorry, no, so my kids are calling. Got to go.
Okay. Confident and energetic actually does not convey curiosity. So to actually build curiosity, you need to sound curious. Hey, Tyler, actually, I was just checking out your LinkedIn, and I'm actually not even sure if this is the best fit for you, but was hoping to ask a couple quick questions, see if it's even worth a larger combo. I mean, would that be okay?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I don't even know where to begin, but let's talk.
Again, and if y'all listen to what I just did there, all I'm trying to do is build enough curiosity to do the next thing, which was to answer some of my questions. And I'm saying, look, I'm not sure if this is the best fit, which is true. I only want to ask a few questions to see if it's worth a larger conversation. That's true. We're not the best fit for everybody. That's true. And when you use that type of language, we're not the best fit for everybody. That builds curiosity. I just wanted to actually ask a few quick questions, see if it's even worth it. That builds curiosity, right? I was just on your LinkedIn, so I wanted to reach out. That everything I'm doing in those lines is to build curiosity of like, well, what's coming next? Whereas what we preach to people, be this confident, energetic. It's actually, and y'all know this, If I don't know who you are and you are overly energetic on the phone, what does that do? Y'all know this, salespeople. I'm gonna talk to your heart right now. Someone you don't know you calls you and it's like, hey, KD, how's it going? Look what Tyler did. You lean back. You're like, whoa. Whereas I'm like, hey, Tyler, I was just curious. It's on your LinkedIn. I don't even know if this is the best thing for you, but you lean in, you pull people, right? So I'll pause there. But that's the tone, is you're building this curiosity. You have to sound curious, right? The way I used to label this was lost in the city. This is how we labeled our cold calling tone, right? I'm like, lost in the city. Hey, I'm trying to find my way to the Eiffel Tower. And I have no idea how to get there. Like, could you help me out real quick? I'm lost, right? I'm trying to find this thing, which truthfully on a cold call, you're trying to find this thing. That's what we're calling for. So that's what I'm for here. Sound curious, lost in the city, pulls people in. Because what you'll get a lot to that intro, y'all, that I gave you, you'll get a lot of people say, sure. You'll get a lot of other people go, I'm sorry, what is this call about? It doesn't actually matter. If you say yes or you say, what is this call about? My response is going to be the same. We're on to the next. And we go from there, right? So that's the key.
There's already people, this whole slew of chat messages you probably haven't seen where people are like, yes, like this is it, right? And it's that pairing of the tone, the curious tone, with questions that are genuinely curious, right? And I think that like those things coupled together, I suspect it actually makes you feel a lot better as a salesperson, even having these conversations.
Okay. So that's the key. And this is why I teach it the way that I do, is more people can do this. There are certain tones that I can pull off that maybe a brand new SDR cannot, right? But lost in the city, everyone can pull off. Curious, everyone can pull off. It makes it easier. This is why, again, some of the gimmicky stuff I see on like pattern breaks. This is a hilarious thing about pattern breaks. Pattern breaks are also a pattern break for the person saying it. Because when in your life have you said, hey, do you have 27 seconds? In your life. And I'm not knocking the technique. I'm knocking the fact that it's so unnatural. Our tone doesn't work. And that's actually why it doesn't work. If you can nail that intro with the right tone, you're good.
So this brings up an important topic of heated debate amongst the sales world: script versus no script. And let's start with the calls that we're making. And let's keep on this thread of cold calls. Are we scripting that message and teaching our reps how to deliver it naturally and genuine curiosity, or are we letting them off the leash? What's your take?
So for everybody listening, and there's a delay, but you're gonna go here. I'm gonna do a quick poll. Everybody loves polls. I'm gonna do a quick poll. Put yes in the chat if you have ever watched a movie, watched a TV show, listened to a song on the radio, or went to see a play or a musical. Put a yes in the chat if you have ever watched a TV show, a movie, listened to a song on the radio, went to a concert, saw a musical, or a show. I'm going to wait for 2 seconds to see where that delay comes in. But my guess is, of the 200 plus people we have on here, I've got bad news for y'all. They were scripted. That movie was scripted. That TV show was scripted. That song on the radio was scripted. That musical was scripted. That concert was scripted. Every single one of those things was scripted. And not once have you gone to a movie and been like, I liked it, but you could tell it was scripted. You could tell it was scripted. They sounded robotic. No. And I will die on this hill. It's the artist's job to make the script come alive. That's our job. That's why we exist. We are the artist to make the script come alive, right? This is so important, okay? And like I see some comments in here. I'm going through it, okay? Our job is to learn how to say these things the right way. Because when you go to your coworker and say, how do you handle this objection? You're asking for their script. When you go to your manager and say, what do we say about this competition? You're asking for the script. Our job as the artist is to make the script come alive. So yes, I believe in scripting. Now, are there places to ad lib? Of course. Are there places to go off script? Of course. But the script is the best practices. The script is the best practices. And if you don't have best practices for your team, you need to go get them. Because there are best practices. The way your best rep says disco is probably the best practice you should script. And your best cold caller probably says things that you should script. And then you work on the tone needed to get there. So yes, I believe in scripts, but I believe in practicing the script like an artist would practice the script to get to the level where we can deliver it in the tone we're supposed to.
And I think that's clearly where a lot of sales teams and leadership fall short in thinking that the job is done with the great script. And to your point, your job isn't done until that individual can deliver it in a way that they are confident that they can do it with the right tone and that they can use it to create the desired outcome, which in this case is curiosity.
Well, and I gotta jump on this because it's hilarious. Anyone that has like strong pushback on a script, you know why they have strong pushback on a script? Because they want to use their script.
Right.
Like we're actually not arguing on whether or not scripts are good. We're arguing on which script you want to use. Everyone uses a script. There are certain things that you say on repeat to get a common result, right? So now Adam asked this in the chat, like, what about bullet points more than a script? I'm fine with that as long as those bullet points are the best practice. This is what we've seen proven to work to get the result that we're looking for. Let's go through it. But anyone that's against a script is actually not against script. It's actually against which script, right? That's actually where most of the argument comes into.
Right. Well, it's an interesting dovetail into this conversation around tonality and script and delivery when it comes to things like a video message, right? So on a call, for example, you aren't looking at a camera necessarily. It's a little bit different. And if you are relying on a script or bullet points, assuming you've practiced it enough, at least you can bring it out and probably be using it as some reference points. But as you're doing things like recording videos, it's a little bit different because now you also want to bring your physical energy and you've got almost physical tone in addition to your audible tone. So let's talk about that. How do you think about tone in video? And then we can have the same conversation around scripts, bullets, and so on.
Yeah. So I'll put it this way across all of it, which is this. you just need to set your intention with your tone. So if we were live right now and we are live, but if I could pull people into this room, I do this even like with my like new hires all the time, is I'll put up like a word like, I don't know, pajama. I don't even know if that's how you spell pajama. Think it is, whatever, pajama. And what I'll do is I'll say, so Tyler, say pajama, but say it's sad.
Pajama.
Okay. Now I'm going to say it unsure. Pajama, say it angry.
Pajama.
Now I'm going to say it excited. Pajama. Now I want you to say it, call it like unsure or curious. Like you're just kind of feeling things out.
Pajama?
Okay. One word with intention, we can change our tone immediately. It's just setting the intention. So again, back to scripts, if you're like, oh, well, scripts make me sound robotic. No, it's just we can read in any tone. And my parents know this. If I got parents on here, when you read one fish, two fish, red fish, blue fish, like you read it in like one fish, two fish, red fish, blue fish. Like you read it in a tone, right? So that to me, the tone just has to be intentional. So if we talk about video, what is my intention? What tone am I going for? AKA, what do I want them to feel from this video? Do I want them to feel curiosity? I'm going to sound curious. If I want them to feel certain, right? So like a video follow-up of like, Tyler, I really enjoyed our conversation today. And I truly believe this is going to have an impact on what you're trying to achieve. Let's recap what we were talking about. Now if I'm certain, right? Because that's what I want them to feel from this. If I want them to feel excited. Tyler, so excited to talk next steps with you. I mean, I enjoyed our conversation. The things that you are doing right now is just so aligned. I'm going to put you in touch with our CS. You're going to love it. I want you to feel excited, right? I'm setting my intention and making sure that my tone matches.
I mean, it's so natural, and I hope and expect that many of us do it, and in some cases implicitly and unintentionally. But as you talk about it and you think about these different stages in the sales process and these different modes of communicating, the importance of it really does start to pop, and you realize certainly of all these different touch points, how it is that we deliver that message ends up being really half of the information received. How do you go about teaching young sellers or old sellers, folks who maybe don't feel like they're really leaning in on using tone to their advantage? How do you go about teaching them about either this concept or how to be more intentional in tone? Are there ways to do that are easier than others?
Yes. So one, I do a lot of work on labeling it. Like I label it. Lost in the City, Scooby-Doo, Pizza Dough, right? We label the tone as a way to remember, right? If all of y'all, actually not none of y'all. I saw Joey Phoenix on here. There might be some other people. None of y'all have ever worked for me before. But if I gave you a piece of paper and said, I want you to sound lost in the city when you read this, I bet you could do it, right? Another good one we have. Right, actually, I was wrong one. TOL. TOL stands for thinking out loud. So I said, Tyler, I want you to read this. But I want you to read this in a way where it sounds like you're thinking out loud. You know what? Yes, I mean, reading to my kids, like bingo, I guess. I mean, yeah, tone, right? Like you label it. So that's the first is what type of tone do I want? So you start with the label of it. And then a few people have mentioned it in here already. And then we practice the tone. This is what everyone gets so twisted, I think, all the time. My hope is all 200 people on this call right now can read. Okay, we've covered that. Everyone on here can read. So now I can give you a script and I'm telling you what tone to read it in. I want you to sound interested. I want you to sound curious. I want you to, like, we practice the tone so much more than the words because everyone can read. I need to make sure that you can deliver that tone. And again, all of the actors and actresses, what do they do when they first get a script? Read throughs. They read through the script and then they read through the script in the personality. If y'all want to watch some funny stuff, go look at table read throughs where people are in full character, but not. So like you see Johnny Depp being black, Captain Jack Sparrow, looking like Johnny Depp, but he's in full character, reading through the script. That's how, and then we practice it. Oh, because again, you can read. I want you to read the script when you're learning it. I want you focused on the tone. So that's actually how we work on it. We label it, then we practice it, and we give feedback on how we sound it. And because it's labeled, it's easier to do.
My mind is just blown right now, KD, as you talk through this, and the concept of labeling is so obvious now in hindsight, but so powerful. Like when you said the like thinking out loud, I was like, one fish, two fish,
right?
red
Like
fish, blue fish.
All it took was a label. All it took was an intention. I firmly believe everyone on here, the reason why people tend to hate scripts is because they read it the way we read. Tonality tactics for sellers, making a big impact with the right tone. We read it the way we read, versus if I told you how to read it, you can convey it in that tone. And until you nail it, I'm going to make you do it until you get it.
Yeah. Is it safe to say that this is probably a more important concept to teach and practice as part of prospecting, as opposed to other parts of the sales cycle where it's probably more natural to adopt a tone tied to the desired outcome?
I'll say yes and no to that, because you have less room for error on a cold call. Like I've got 90 seconds.
Yeah.
So I have to be very, very intentional. Now I have you on a demo for 30 minutes. I have more leeway, but being intentional with the tone, because think about this. Think about a disco call. Well, disco, what type of tone do you think I should have during disco, Tyler? What type of tone?
Curious.
And then when I get into the demo and I'm asking call it connect the dot questions of how they would apply things. What sort of tone should I have there? I want to know how they would apply it.
I might go curious again.
Oh my gosh, there that shows up. Now, when I'm showing a part of my product, what I'm diving into, right? I'm showing you how to connect the API. So now I'm showing what type of tone should I have there?
Confident yet curious.
Right? Confident with a dash of curious. Okay. And then when I get into the pricing, right? Before I get into the pricing, this is where we would hit the escalation. So this is where we called this a long time ago. We called this the Scooby-Doo. So the Scooby-Doo is what we did before getting to pricing. And it sounds like this. I know I'm aging myself right now. I don't even know if Scooby-Doo is a thing anymore. But if you remember how Scooby-Doo had ended, always ended like this. Well, if the mummy was Mr. Jenkins and the vampire was in the cemetery, well, then the only possible person that could have been the goblin is, and is this slow escalation. Same idea. Well, Tyler, I think this might make sense. Like you're struggling with pipeline right now, and you're looking for a way to get your SDRs to produce a little bit more. And if you did, we could actually produce 5 or 6 more. Honestly, I really think this is a great idea for you. Should we get into pricing?
Yes, Shaggy, we should.
Yeah. Okay. But again, y'all, think about this. And I'm speaking again, salesperson. You know how we tend to sound when we start to get into pricing? How do we tend to sound when we get into pricing? We sound nervous.
I was going to say defensive, maybe nervous. Yeah.
We sound nervous. So what does that convey to our prospect? Nerves. Tone conveys, y'all. You can transfer tone and energy, right? This is what happens, right? Or same idea, we don't even sound excited when we're asking them to buy. We don't even sound like, dude, Tyler, this is going to change your life. And I know it. I believe it based off what we talked about. This is for you. I know it. If you will just give me that trust, if you will give me the opportunity, I will show you what this could do for you. Can we get you started? Okay. That tone will pull people in and you can convey it across.
Wow. Now, we are right about at time, and I want to keep going because now you've pulled me in so much, AD, just through your own tone, and I'm like, I want to keep going on this. I want to play Scooby one more time, but we are at time here. If anybody wants to dive further into this, of course, connect with KD on LinkedIn, and there was a link to his Patreon earlier on. You've got some fans here that shared the great things that you're doing online. But I want to just say a personal thank you for spending the time to share this wisdom with the audience, and the feedback has just been phenomenal throughout. And I want to ask you just one wrap-up question is, how can people put this into practice? Is it about like putting sticky notes on your monitor, reminding you to be intentional? How do you recommend they take that next step to put this into practice?
Yeah. So the first, you use my favorite word, is just set your intention. Before a cold calling block, before a demo, before a follow-up, set your intention. You can change your tone in a heartbeat. We just aren't intentional about it. So that's the first. What up, Curtis? I do got some people on here. So that's the first one, is set your intention and then practice, right? Practice till you can't get it wrong, right? Joey will know this. Eddie will know this. Curtis will know this. We used to call it the 2 a.m. test. I should be able to hit you up at 2 a.m. and say, handle this objection in a Scooby-Doo. Handle this objection and practice the tone until you can't get it wrong. So that would be my tip, man. Set your intention, practice it till you can't get it wrong. You're on your